All right, today I will be talking with Todd Fox. Todd is a former Marine, black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, former MMA fighter, and security expert and trainer. He trains law enforcement, security personnel, and the average citizen in defensive tactics, survival techniques, and a variety of other skills to keep you aware and alive. Recently, he put out a book called Protection for and from Humanity. Welcome, Todd.
Hi, Eric.
Thanks for talking to me. First and foremost, I want to know what inspired you to write this book at this particular time.
It's a good question. It kind of been in the making, and I had a friend who I worked with on developing some skills that would help him in a workplace issue that he had had. A very complex situation. He's trying to juggle it, and I worked with him on it, and he got through it using some really basic, simple skills and strategies. And afterwards, like, dude, you have to write a book on this stuff. You need to tell me a little bit more about why and how you do it, and then let's just put it on the paper and we'll go from there. And I said, whatever. And as you know, kind of I'm gone 10 months out of the year doing 20-hour days, 6 days a week, and uh, COVID hit. And COVID hit, and we started looking back at it. He's like, you got time now, why not do this? And I had no good answer, and so we did it. But I get a lot of questions, and I'm sure you do too, like, hey, what's the best way for me to address this? Hey, I've got this problem at work, I got this problem at home. Hey, what kind of lock should I use? What kind of lighting should I use? And so I'm constantly getting hit with that kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what, this is a great time to do something outside of entertainment, to do something outside of the military and law enforcement, and just address kind of the general public.
Yeah, it's the perfect time. I think, yeah, you're right. And those questions have increased constantly for you, myself, coming from all over. A lot of times they want to know people want to know what should focus on, like on their daily lives. I mean, we could spend an entire day talking about the topics in your book and our experiences related to those. But what do you think in terms of how society is today and how people are? What do you think that people should focus on in terms of some of those techniques you have in the book?
I wouldn't even uh, correlate it to the book in any way, but I would probably say, what happens in your everyday life frequently or around you. So you start to think about it like, I love guns. I've been, training with guns for 30 years, and it's a part of my plan. It's a part of my game, and it's a part of my business, and it's part of a lot of things. But I don't think that is, a daily occurrence in my life, getting into gunfights. So that's probably not as valuable as many people would make it. So I look at things like medical, right? Medical emergencies happen every day in every city, in every country, stuff like that. You can literally save a life by knowing how to do something or having the tools on you. Think about, the ability to utilize a tourniquet or quick clot or an Israeli bandage or a chest seal or something like that, or even create a splint out of nothing or a tourniquet out of nothing. Those kinds of skills are probably more useful for the average everyday guy. And then with that mindset, I would move toward things like driving, right? Taking a course, and even a protective and evasive driving course at a proper school will really train you for the road and dealing with the problems that happen on the road when people are crazy or texting while they're driving, or driving too fast for the road conditions or whatever it may be. And then after that, I'd probably look at something like martial arts, right? Like a combat martial art where you actually do in training what you would do in a self-defense type situation. And obviously, as you know, for me, that's jujitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, and wrestling. But those things are, for me, more important than the shooting component. Shooting's important, firearms are important, but the number one thing is your mindset and your brain and how you process and think about these things, not the inanimate object. So that's kind of the starting point. When I talk to my friends that are not military, that are not law enforcement, I say, hey, medical skills, driving skills, hand-to-hand kind of self-defense skills. And then once you've got that down, then we start to look at firearms. Then we start getting into more advanced skills, things like breaching skills and stuff like that are probably
Yeah.
not appropriate for the average everyday citizen. Not that they can't be useful, but for the most part, that's a waste of most of their time. So,
Yeah, the medical. About 6 months ago, one of my colleagues got cut with a samurai sword and had his fellow surveillance agents not jumped in and had their medical kits. Hadn't had They have former military and they had training. It took about 20 minutes plus for the ambulance to come. So had they not had that medical kit and had they not helped him out, he would have died. So yeah, I mean, regardless of the type of profession, that's always going to be there. And then driving down here in Southern California, there's been a lot of road rages and shootings as it relates to that. And you know, you, situational awareness is huge. Um, you've talked about the Marine Corps Combat Hunter program. Can you describe that? Um,
Yeah, it was a program that's put together a few years back, quite a few years back now, that basically helped prep Marines to have a higher level of situational awareness in combat zones and utilizing a number of different things, but essentially early awareness, and then all the skills kind of fell in from there. So um, the thing that we use, if you want to kind of look at what we use a component called baseline anomaly. So essentially, you figure out what's normal in a given environment. And once you know what's normal in the environment, you can pick out what's not normal. And anything that's abnormal in environment, we refer to as an anomaly. And then you try to figure out if that anomaly is either benign, meaning it's not going to be harmful to you, or if it's a critical anomaly, something that could or will harm you or your group of people. And then from there, when you have normally three, the Marine Corps goes with three, but we have a number of ways to look at it in the civilian realm. When you have those three anomalies occur in the same kind of situation, we narrow it down to three general decisions that you have to make. So the algorithm is called the BAD algorithm, BAD, baseline plus anomaly equals decision. And the BAD algorithm basically says these things are happening, I got to do something, and then I have to figure out what it is. So my decision normally comes down to three things, right? And we call them the three C's. This isn't how the Marine Corps did it, but we call it three C's. So one is to continue as planned, right? Okay, I see these anomalies occurring, but I don't think they're going to hurt me, and or I think I can deal with the threat that it presents. So I'm just going to keep going along just as I had planned. Probably not best course of action in most cases, but it's one option. The next one is to change behavior, change your plan, change your route, change your movement, change your strategy. Instead of going down the street, now we're going to go over three streets, up a street, and over another street, and come in a different angular way, or we're going to hold in another place, or try to get elevation and look at what's going on below us. And we basically adjust our course of action to see if that anomaly is indeed critical, and how are we going to deal with it. And then the last one is to cancel the operation. Okay, I see it. It doesn't look right. Bad day. Not feeling it. We don't have really the things that we need to deal with it. And now we're going to pull chalks and GTFO. We're out of here. So those are the three things that we look at. So those are kind of some of the concepts of Combat Hunter program. They get into a lot of detail and stuff like that. But for us and civilians, it's really basic, really simple, training people how to look at a situation, think about it, and then what's your course of action based on what you're seeing.
that would have helped some of the folks that drove down. I want to say it was Portland or something, where they drove down the wrong street, where there was a civil unrest and some looting, and they got yanked out of the car. And yeah, I mean, you know what's going on.
Yeah,
You got to have those
absolutely.
plans. Um,
Absolutely.
in terms of families, and now we're getting into potentially down the hopefully shortly getting into more travel. In terms of families and business trips, what do you think people should do to help themselves stay safe? I know you mentioned a lot in the book, and um, people should get the book because it's all in there. But regardless, what do you think? Maybe some top three things that people should do to stay safe.
Yeah, it's difficult to narrow it down, but when we started, and me in particular, I was doing a lot of stuff in Latin America, and I was doing it with wealthy people from LA, and we were going down to Mexico doing trips, whether it was for vacation or for business, and we implemented the things that I recommend in the book, and it worked out well for us to this day. But the first thing is to know your area of operation. And even if you're not operating, if it's just a holiday and you're going down, to know what's happening in that environment, right? So you do some type of history poll. You look at what's occurring in that realm. So you can do it through news, or you can do it through other sources. So one of the sources I know I've shared with you is OSAC, the Overseas Security Advisory Council. They have crime and safety reports that you can pull up, and you can look at what's been happening over the years in this realm. And particularly, you might get crime and safety report that was just released for that area. And now I can see what's happening where I'm going on vacation. Plus, the way news cycles are, things are very fast. You can get stuff in real time. You can connect with local people online, but finding out what's happening there. The hotel or the airport or a venue or a restaurant, they're not going to tell you maybe the bad things that are occurring because it's not in their best interest. They want you to come. So you find other sources that are more open and willing to tell you what's happening. Plus you see, again, general news source. So you look at what's going on there. The history is very big, and that's going to drive kind of what you do and how you do it. And then you figure out where you're going to stay, what's in that area. And we start to look at things like, do we have hospitals? And if we do have hospitals, what type of hospitals do we have? Do we have a trauma one? Well, if you're in a third world country, that's just not going to happen. So that's out. Now, what other things do you have? How can you stabilize? Do you have airlifts available? Can you get some type of insurance for that? Are police corrupt there? Are police trustworthy there? How am I making movements? Am I doing ground movements? Am I doing air movements? Am I doing sea movements? And then what are the components that I'm using to do that? Can I bribe people there, or is it illegal to bribe people there? We think a lot in terms of the context of the U.S., but most of the world doesn't operate the way we do. And so if we start playing by our rules there, we're probably going to miss the boat, no pun intended. So understanding those kinds of components, and then building networks that will be able to help you or assist you. And a lot of times those networks will come from people that Oh, I've got a friend that his aunt lives in that city, and well, that's a great safe haven for you. That's a place that you can reach out to before your trip. Hey, Aunt Matilda, guess what? I'm coming down with my friend, and this is what we're doing. And is there anything you want? You want Levi's jeans? Okay, I'll bring you Levi's. Oh, you want Oakley glasses? Okay, great. It's cheap. It's a cheap investment to have that safe haven, that go to, and that place is not even directly connected to you if somebody's looking for you to do harm to you. So things like that, having a network that you can either access immediately through a contact or one that you set up through something like OSAC. So you have another constituent, say an OSAC that you can rely on, or building it when you get in country. It's pretty easy to do if you develop the skills to build a relationship with people or rapport in a given country, and then have that support network there. So those are the three areas that I would look at if I'm going on vacation or I'm setting up something for a business trip. But the bottom line is to pay attention, to know something could happen, and then to have a general plan for it.
Yeah. In terms of your training academy, and I know you've done it for security professionals for quite some time, but how can people find out about your training academy so they can learn more and get some more practical skills?
I don't have a whole lot out there at the moment on the Training Academy. There's a website called phaselinex.com that they can go to and have a look at it. And yeah, it's not this super, super easy website to navigate, but if you find the right spots, you'll be able to see a little bit on training. You'll be able to see a few of the videos. I think we have a little bit on weapon retention and down driver drills and some really basic things. But also, if you want to see our business and kind of who we deal with, tourprotection.com is the business site. But probably your best bet right now, if you want to make immediate contact, is through Instagram at tour training period.
Cool. I think we're wrapping it up in case you have anything else, unless you have anything else you want to add.
Don't. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You got it.